Good afternoon. We're here today with Kathy Julian. Kathy's the volunteer program manager for the West region of Hospice of Michigan. Thanks for being here today.
Thank you, Catherine. I appreciate you having me here today.
Well, now, Hospice of Michigan, they are not some new company. They've actually been around since about 1970 in one form or another. So I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit about its history.
Yes, Hospice of Michigan has been around for just over 30 years. And we originally started in the Southeast Michigan area, and the program developed from there, and we provide service to patient and families in over 56 counties in the Lower Peninsula.
And can you tell me what is hospice care for someone who has never experienced it or just, has heard the word hospice? What is hospice care?
Yeah, hospice care is considered end-of-life care, and typically what that means is the patient would need to be certified by 2 doctors saying that they would not be surprised if the patient was no longer living in 6 months if their disease continued progressing in a way that it was expected to progress. So they're usually within the last 6 months of life. And one of the other aspects is the patient would need to pretty much say, I'm no longer interested in seeking aggressive treatments to cure, but I want to be comfortable and I want the symptoms maintained and managed. So it's really comfort care. Everything is focused on the comfort of the patient, as well as educating the family and the caregiver about how the specific disease is going to progress, to normalize all sorts of anxieties and fears when people know that they have less than 6 months to live.
And so when someone is going to receive hospice services, is this in a clinical setting or is it at their home?
Yes, well, we at Hospice of Michigan, we go to wherever our patients reside. Some patients wish to be at home, and oftentimes a loved one, a spouse or a child, family member or friend is the primary caregiver for the patient. We also follow patients if they're at a facility, and we also actually had homeless patients, so we will go to them wherever they reside. And we have also served some patients in the prison system as well. So we go everywhere where the patient is. We do not have a bricks and mortars hospice homes, if you will, but we follow the patient wherever they are. We go to remote areas as well as the heavily populated metropolitan areas.
Okay. And so if someone is one of your patients with Hospice of Michigan, I call you and I say, my mom is ready to have hospice services and we have the doctors who have concurred that. What is that going to mean then when we call Hospice of Michigan?
Yeah, so anybody can pretty much refer someone to receive, the initial assessment. And what happens is typically it's a registered nurse and possibly one of the social workers or spiritual care advisors that will go out on an information visit. They'll ask the family members, the patient, any questions. They'll do an assessment. They'll take a look at what medications they may be on. And we can pretty much start services within 24 hours of making the visit. And then what happens is then that patient receives regular visits from the clinical team. And the clinical team typically involves a medical director who is a physician. There's a registered nurse case manager who basically directs the whole plan of care. And what that means is she'll identify and bring in social work to provide support in the psychosocial aspect of care. Then there's a spiritual care advisor. What happens during end of life, a lot of emotional kind of spiritual distress comes up, and our spiritual care folks will come in and just provide assistance. And it's not based on any one religion, but it's to provide support with where the patient's at in their spiritual journey, if you will. They also have access to a home health aide or a hospice aide, and they take care of all of the physical cares with the bathing the patient, teaching the caregiver, if the patient's at home, how to turn the patient safely to avoid bed sores. They really do a lot of education in providing good holistic care so that the patient can be comfortable at all times and is clean as well. And then we have a whole host of volunteers around the state. We have about 900 of them that provide a whole level of that, I call it like quality of life support. It's like having a good friend coming into the home or into the facility and just bringing a piece of the outside world to you. They're not there to address pain or other symptoms. They're just there to be a friend, to hold a hand, to maybe reminisce, and really be a confidant to the patient. A number of times we have patients that are quite elderly and perhaps they don't have any friends or family that are alive and are visiting. So they will provide just presence, loving support. If they like to play cards, they'll play cards with them. They'll take them for a little wheelchair ride around the facility. They just provide this quality of life where they're connecting one-on-one with someone, and so they're not struggling with loneliness. So,
Oh, that's awesome.
yeah.
Now, I'm sure that this is probably an easy one for you, but if you had to think of a situation where maybe there was a hospice patient you had where the hospice team or the hospice volunteers went over and above
Okay.
what typically we would expect from a hospice team.
Yeah,
Could you maybe share one of those examples with us?
Absolutely. I have one that I think is perfect. So about a year and a half ago, almost 2 years, we had a request come in from one of our registered nurses. She understood that one of the patients she was serving had an upcoming birthday. So she requested from Volunteer Services, is there anything we can do to do a little birthday celebration? And at that time, the birthday program at Hospice of Michigan was born. My thought was, why not have all of our patients experience a birthday? We call it a portable birthday program, so the whole clinical team is involved. And what they end up doing is not only do they go in with a birthday cake, homemade birthday cards, all of the clinical team signs the card, and everyone that can make it goes there. And oftentimes they'll bring balloons with a stuffed bear or a special gift if there's something that they know the patient likes. But they also call the family members and the caregivers, friends, and they'll have like a full-blown birthday party. And it's a time for everybody to have maybe a last good time celebrating birthday, taking a look back at the patient's life, smiles, pictures, and all of that. And so some people might think that it's odd to celebrate a birthday for a patient that's on hospice, and my thought is in the thought of the clinical team, we believe, why not? Let's celebrate what is oftentimes the patient's last birthday, and let's do it with a bang. So we provide all the goodies, and I oftentimes will receive pictures from the clinical team, and they just melt my heart. The birthday program has been just an incredible success, and it really talks about the connections that are made from the clinical team with the patient as well as the caregiver, whether the caregiver is at home or whether the caregivers are at the facility. It's just a time of celebration, even though they're in their end phase of life. So
What a gift, not only to the patient, but also to the family, I bet.
Absolutely.
Because I'm sure probably it would be hard at that end of life stage to maybe think about celebrating the birthday.
No, that's right. And so they make it really special and fun and unique, and the patients are oftentimes overjoyed. I've heard a number of times where patients have said, no one's ever celebrated my birthday. this way. And so it's a joyous time for the patient as well as for their loved ones or for the facility staff that they call family.
Right.
So yeah, it's a beautiful, beautiful program. And as a matter of fact, Meyer generally provided a very nice donation. They learned that the program began in Grand Rapids, but because of Meyer's donation, we were able to implement the program statewide. So now most of our patients on our program that have birthdays coming up receive some sort of a special celebration with the clinical team and with the family and friends. So it really is, it's something that's very near and dear to our hearts for sure, to know that even though they're at the end of their life, we can still celebrate a birthday and just share memories and have pictures for loved ones that remain to reflect and remember. Even though those were hard times, it was great celebrating Mom's last birthday with her.
Sure.
So,
What a gift.
yeah, thank you.
You know, and I know one thing that probably sets Hospice of Michigan apart from others is what you call the At-Home Choices program. And I wondered if you could share that with us.
Yes, absolutely. So we have focused primarily on hospice support, which is end of life, about last 6 months of life. Our At-Home Choices program is different. It typically does not require anybody to be within their last 6 months of life, but who definitely have an advanced illness that they're struggling with, whether it could be a cancer, it's kind of slow-growing cancer. It could be dementia or Alzheimer's or something like multiple sclerosis or any other neurological disorder. So really the patient in this setting would be the last 24 to 36 months of life. But there's a struggle because there's really no good way to care for a patient. They're in and out of emergency rooms, typically in and out of doctor's appointments. And the At-Home Choices program is a free, community-based palliative care program. And what happens is, if someone refers a patient to the At-Home Choices program, a registered nurse goes out to the home. They assess the situation, they do a physical assessment, they assess the emotional as well as spiritual issues going on in the home, and then they provide education to the family and the patient about the particular disease that they have, as well as the progress, how it progresses. And then what they do is they collaborate, so it's the patient, the family, the At-Home Choices clinician, and the healthcare provider that's supporting the patient. So it's collaboration, and I like to think of it as At-Home Choices staff provide river guide support. They're the river guide in helping families understand how to navigate the healthcare system when someone has an advanced illness, but they need to be at home. They're not within their last few months of life, but they're at home, and the family doesn't know how to provide support. So the clinical team for At-Home Choices provides symptom management. They address pain issues. If the doctor of the patient recommends varying treatment options, At-Home Choices helps to break down in layman's term, here's what these treatment options look like, and here's some of the ramifications, the pros, the cons. So they really are, it's a consultative process. It's At-Home Choices program is more of a consultation process. So they're kind of on the outer, kind of the sidelines, but they're helping the family to navigate through all the things that come up with these advanced illnesses. And so what's nice is they're constantly in communication with the medical team of the patient and the family. So it doesn't mean that the family has to give up their doctor. At-Home Choices works in collaboration with them to identify any maybe med adjustments or treatment options or something like that. So they work collaboratively within the community, And as I mentioned earlier, it is free, there's no charge, and people can call 24/7, even just to ask questions. Because they make a phone call doesn't obligate them to do anything. But it's a great program, and it is telephonic in nature, so the registered nurse case manager will check in with the patient and the family, and as they need additional support, for example, a social worker could be added to that clinical team, as well as a spiritual care advisor, depending on what the family's dealing with and what their needs might be. But yeah, that's a fantastic program that we have to offer. And it's an exciting time. So I know that right now there's kind of a gap in the healthcare world. So we're trying to identify and plug that gap and meet the needs of these patients and families that have the advanced illnesses out there.
Okay, and if someone needed either that Home Care Choices program or Hospice of Michigan, how could they get in touch with them?
Yes, for Hospice of Michigan, the telephone number is 1-888-247-5701. And that phone number is answered 24 hours a day, 7 days a week by registered nurses. So, for example, if one of our hospice patients has a pain episode Sunday night at 3 in the morning, they can call the number, and the registered nurse that answers will pull up their chart, their clinical chart, and they will be able to dispatch a registered nurse that's on call right to the home, and they do that 24/7. For the at-home choices, anybody interested in finding out additional information can call 1-877-227-8823. They're also staffed with registered nurses 24/7, so feel free to give a call. And again, just because you call doesn't obligate you to anything, but it helps you to get the information that you need to make the best decision for your own situation.
Well, thank you. Kathy Julian from Hospice of Michigan. We appreciate you being here today.
Yeah, thank you, Catherine. It was great being here. It's a pleasure.